I always say the Marine Corps is freaking outstanding. My kids always, every time they always go, "Oh, we know, Dad, the Marine Corps is freaking outstanding." I went to a Marine Corps boot camp graduation the other day, and it's just like, I'm sitting there just thinking to myself, the Marine Corps is freaking outstanding. But one of the, that's kind of my own belief, but one of the things that really shored that up a lot was I had James Webb on the podcast, and he was talking about, he's like graduated from the Naval Academy, went to the basic school, went to officer infantry course, had 7 days of leave or something, flew to Vietnam, got put out in the field. Like they pointed at a ridgeline. They're like, "Hey, that's your platoon up there." Yep. He walks up to that ridgeline, and the sergeant that's running it, because their other platoon commander had been wounded or killed and he was not there, he's like, "Yep, I've been running it. You got it now, sir." And that night they get into a massive firefight. He's calling for fire and CAS and everything else. And I said, "Oh, did you feel prepared?" And he was like, "Yes." And that's just awesome. Mm-hmm. Like to have a school that you can go to that can prepare you day one to be ready to lead troops in combat like that. That's
you feel confident coming out of there.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So you get done with that. And then what's next? Where you get assigned to a battalion?
I got assigned to 3rd Battalion 1st Marines, based out of Camp Pendleton.
Check.
Yeah, and it was an incredible unit. Love the guys. I learned so much from my Marines there. You check in, boot second lieutenant, thinking you know everything, and instantly got humbled. I think I, as a leader, my whole adult life has been about leadership, which basically means I've made every possible mistake out there.
Sure. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, and I think my time as a young second lieutenant, luckily I had a really good section leader who helped me grow, the staff sergeant. He taught me a lot, and I went there full of piss and vinegar. I'll never forget. I really wanted to go to Force Recon. That was my goal. That was my target. And I'd heard a lot of kind of about the legends of these guys, and I thought that's where I want to end up. But you just don't go there. Mm-hmm. The way it works in the Marine Corps is you got to kind of earn your stripes. You build a reputation. You do well, and then you get invited to selection, even to try out. Right. Well, I didn't want to wait. So I remember I show up to 3-1. I check in my unit. I've got like a week or two with my guys. And I found a gear list for a Force Recon selection that was going to be happening the next week. And I remember thinking, I'm just going to go over there and show them that I'm ready. I mean, I'm embarrassed even saying this. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I pulled together the kit, and I've been training. I've been, working my ass off, like working out, and what I thought the selection would be. And I took leave, and I went over, and I show up at 4 a.m. at the pull-up bars, and it's just chaos. There's like 30. It's dark. There's 30 guys there, 30 other guys. We've all got our 50-pound rucks, and the gunnies are just screaming, and no one's checking IDs or anything. Mm-hmm. And so I just start taking the selection. And about halfway through the day, we get into pool phase. I'm dying, by the way. I'm literally dying. I'm flopping around, but just embarrassing myself in every event. We get into the pool phase, and finally the captain running the selection, looking into the pool, and I'm drowning. And he looks over at the gunny. He's like, "Hey, who the hell is that guy drowning in the pool?" Gunny looks at those lists, and he's looking through stuff. He's like, I don't know who that is, sir. And
Rando.
Get that guy out of the pool. So they yank me out, pull me over to the captain. He starts dressing me down. Who are you? I said, "Well, sir, I'm a second lieutenant." So he's like, "Second lieutenant?" He's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, sir, I just really want to be here. I really wanted to take selection." And they all just start laughing. And I'll never forget. He looked at me and said, "Listen, kid, go back to your unit. Come back over here when you got some hair on your balls." Mm-hmm. Right? And I was just mortified. I was embarrassed. My hands were bloodied from we had to do double, triple O-course stuff, sliding down the rope because I couldn't hold on to it. I was just completely beat up going back to my unit. That was my second really big humbling moment where I'm like, I am not a badass. Mm-hmm. I am not super tough. I gotta earn this, And I remember just coming back to my unit and beginning to develop a new appreciation for the fire team leaders and the squad leaders that I worked with, the section leaders that I worked with, who they're the real heart of the Corps. you know, and I began to learn a lot about that.
I did a couple ARG deployments out here on the West Coast when I was a young SEAL. And so we like did the whole workup package with the Marine Corps with Force Recon. And I had a bunch of good friends from Force Recon, and they eventually became, what was it, Det 1. And so I saw like those guys. It was kind of awesome. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I always held the Marine Corps in such high regard, because I worked so closely with them and just had kick-ass time with those guys. So you end up doing your workup with what was it? Did you say 3-1? Yep. So you end up doing your workup with 3-1, and then any challenges during the workup?
Oh yeah, every day. Every day was a challenge. I mean, trying to understand. So I learned the most about leadership, I think, from my infantry unit in the beginning, about servant leadership. I've become super passionate about servant leadership. I think it's the most powerful form of leadership out there. And I learned most about that while I was in the infantry. And I learned from the corporals and, you know, the sergeants that worked with me. And they taught me a lot about, you know, just basics, leading from the front, leading with authenticity, being humble, being able to, you know, listen well. And just because you're wearing the bars doesn't mean you know everything, you know. And I mean, basic stuff that we know now.
It's a real indicator that you might not know anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cake eaters, right? Yeah, we are. I developed a really deep appreciation for the enlisted men that I got a chance, the fortune to work with. They taught me a lot, and those guys, and then the guys at the unit over Force, they made me the leader I am today.
And then you did some landings at Red Beach, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah. Sure. We had lots of time on Red Beach. It was good to go, man.
Right on. And how was that? So where'd you go on deployment?
So first one we did a Westpac. And
what ship were you on?
Gosh, I was on the Tarawa one time, Bellawood.
Check.
Yeah. They were. The ship time was not my favorite time for a lot of reasons, but yeah, we did a Westpac. That first one was when the Cole got hit, USS Cole.
Yeah,
and that was the first time I had experienced anything close to, you know, combat. You know, I remember the sailors that lost their lives in that attack. The Cole had been ruptured and it was in danger of sinking. So we were running security patrols around the Cole because there were little dinghies that were trying to do a reattack to sink the Cole. So we were trying to keep them at bay. But I remember those guys that had lost their lives they were carrying the body bags out and just thinking, having a sobering moment of like, you know, well, this is war. This is not, you know, everything that you think you're prepared for, you're not really prepared for, you know, and that was just the tip of the iceberg.